what's up everyone? So if you don't know me, I'm Chase. I'm an American that's been living in Japan, working as an ALT for the past almost 3 years now. Before I moved to Japan, I wrote down a bunch of my first impressions about the country, thinking that I'd eventually be able to use it for content or something. I started actually making YouTube videos or like creating content, but not actually using it or not actually uploading it. So this is the first time I'm going to be uploading a YouTube video and actually making content. Rereading a lot of my past, so I have a couple like my past journal entries. It just kind of set me down almost a sort of like rabbit hole. So today I want to actually break everything down and show you guys kind of some of the stuff that surprised me moving here. And I organized it into categories. Because honestly, some of this stuff still doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I want to be able to talk about it here. So y'all, this is the first video in the Chase Across Japan series. I don't know exactly what this channel is going to be. I have a lot more YouTube videos planned about Japan and being a foreigner in this country. But I also want to do other stuff like maybe like video essays, maybe some commentary, some like just me talking. So we're going to figure it out together and we're going to see what the channel is going to be. So the first category I have is sensory and environment. So basically like, what did Japan sound like? What did Japan smell like? What did the food taste like? Everything like that. How I felt about it back then and how I feel about it now. So I guess I would say like the food, I like Japanese food a lot. I really enjoy the taste of Japanese food. Because I really was eating 7-Eleven meals like it was a full course dinner. Like I literally would go to the conveni for breakfast, lunch, like if it was a Saturday and I didn't have like kyushoku, I would get like breakfast, lunch, dinner at 7-Eleven. It was expensive. It's more expensive than it would be if I just cooked the food at home, right? But I liked 7-Eleven, like that was my shit. So, and I still do that a lot, but I cook more often than I used to when I first got to Japan. I guess what would I say, 3 years later now, I'm still kind of doing that. I'm trying to cut back, not purely just because I don't want to gain weight, but also like it's just not healthy, right? And it's really expensive as well. So I'm trying to cut back, losing weight, saving money, stuff like that. So like I'm trying to cut back on that. Anyway, what I will say, I miss American food bad. It's I don't know, something they add to the American food that makes it taste so good. Like, I guess because this shit ain't fucking good for you, right? That shit is not good for you, but they add all that shit to the fucking food. That shit is not good for you, but that makes it fucking pop. That shit tastes good as fuck in America. Not that the food tastes bad in Japan, but I'm saying it's the extra oomph of like diabetes, whatever they add to it. Like, this shit is good as fuck. And that's the kind of stuff I actually do miss about food in America. It's like, not that the food in Japan don't taste good, but I'm just saying I miss the specific American flavor profile. Like, no shade. Okay, so next, sights and sounds. Honestly, Japan is just a very beautiful country. Like, I know that everybody says like Japan is so aesthetic and anime and like kawaii, cutesy, all this stuff. But it really is it's gorgeous. Like, it's a beautiful, beautiful country. It looks like, honestly, when I first got to Japan, I was like, why does everything look like Disney World? Like, it looked almost like fake to me. Like, how nice it was, it looked almost like not real. So for me, I would say that's probably the number one thing about Japan that I like the most. Is like, it's just a gorgeous country, right? And it makes sense why it's such a huge vacation destination, because everybody loves the beauty and the nature of everything of Japan. Like, I feel like that's one of the main reasons why people like to come here and why people talk about Japan that much, you know? Ooh, I would say the smell was probably one of the main first impressions that I had. Like, just everything smelled really, really good in Japan. You know what? I'll say the air, like when I moved to my city in Japan, I just noticed that the air just like smelled sweet. Like, if you were just like taking a walk down the street, the air smelled sweet. Like, it smelled good in Japan. I guess it's like a lack of like pollution and stuff. And the air smells good in Jersey as well, but like it's just in a different way. It smells like more like naturey, but in Japan it's like really, really, I don't know what they do, but it smells really, really sweet. And everything just looked very like bright and colorful. Like, the combination of everything, like it was just like I said, like Disney World, like, and not so much in a magical way, but like it was just like, it was almost like unreal, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, everything felt like really bright, upbeat, happy. Like, the whole country, like, it's almost like it was like themed. And that's kind of how I feel too. Like, the whole country is very themed to be like cutesy and stuff. And weather is not that much different than Jersey weather. I feel like it's kind of just the same. Like, weather is just good, 4 seasons. The one thing I would say about Japanese weather is that in the summer, like right now, it's like crazy humid. So the humidity in the summer is wild. That's probably the only time in the year where I'm like, oh, this is not good. It's crazy how like you literally will get right off the train or whatever and just feel all that humidity and everything. It's a lot. All right, let me think. This next category is one that might get me in trouble, but I'm gonna just be real. Like, maybe that's the whole point of the video. That's kind of the whole point of the video. I'm gonna just get in trouble. I hope not, but sorry, Japanese stands. I just gotta be honest. Logistics and systems. That's the second category. So I guess I could start with like transportation. So like, okay, so in Japan, the roads are very, very narrow, like extremely narrow. So when I first started driving here, that took a lot of getting used to. I don't know how to explain it, but like they'll have like a little arrow that will point where you can go, but like people can still go from the opposite direction. So I had to get used to the fact that like you still have to yield to pedestrians even if you're turning. Even if you have the turn signal, you still have to yield to pedestrians. Not that you don't in America, but like it's just, I think you don't see it as much. I don't know how to explain it. I'm gonna do a cutaway and explain that better, but it's the traffic lights are different everything. All right, so next, technology. So I think Japan has a reputation as like a very like super like technologically advanced country. It's not that it's wrong because it is very technologically advanced. There's a lot of stuff that's really, really like, oh wow, this is so cool. Like this Japan really is in the future, right? That's how I feel sometimes. But I think what caught me off guard is like a lot of daily life is still handled like on paper. Like fax machines are still like a very active part of how businesses get things done. A lot of things aren't digitized. Like credit card payment is not as universal as you would think. A lot of it is just straight up cash based, right? A lot of stuff. So it's kind of like a funny gap between how Japan seems and how it actually is, because a lot of stuff is still kind of in the 90s is how it feels sometimes. But I think people complain a lot about like bureaucracy in Japan. I don't necessarily think that is as much of an issue as it is for other people. For me, it's not as much of an issue. I think stuff is like pretty straightforward, especially because when I first moved to Japan, I had somebody from my company come help me with all the bureaucratic stuff in Japan. I guess my next thing with logistics would be like a lot of what complicates logistics in Japan is specifically being a foreigner in Japan. Obviously, as many of you know, some apartments just will not rent to foreigners. If they know that you're a foreigner, even if you speak Japanese, if you have a foreign name, if you look foreign, obviously, they're not going to rent to you, right? A lot of apartments. So if you're not attached to a Japanese person, they're not going to rent to you. If you don't have like a Japanese wife or Japanese husband or like whatever, right? They're not going to rent to you. Doesn't matter if you speak the language or not. So you have to specifically look for apartments that are foreign friendly. So you have to search for like foreign friendly apartments and stuff. To be clear, I have never applied to an apartment that has turned me down because I only applied to foreign friendly apartments. But like that's just kind of something that you have to navigate here. It's a very well-known thing that you have to navigate living in Japan. And I think that kind of goes along with the next couple categories that I have, like just life as a foreigner in Japan in general, right? Which I felt very differently about that specific topic when I first moved here versus I do now. Okay, so the next category is social/interpersonal. So that I think, let me think. I'll just think of an example. Like, so when I first got to Japan, I worked at a junior high school. I remember from the first moment that I walked into that school, the kids, they locked their eyes on me. They ran up to me. They wanted to talk to me. They were like, you look so cool, blah, 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 stuff like that, right? Like, asked me like, again, super interested, wanted to talk to me, asked me if I could rap, asked me if I like hip hop, stuff like that. Like, just the stuff that you get in Japan as a foreigner, right? I mean, as a black foreigner, excuse me. That kind of stuff you get as a black foreigner in Japan, yeah? I think part of it is that in the town I was living in, there weren't a lot of black foreigners around, at least at the time. I think there's more now, just because like more immigration and different companies that move into the city and stuff. So I think for a lot of those kids, I was kind of a new experience. So kids were asking about my hair, asking like, how do I get my hair done like that? Generally like very, very curious, excited energy, which is very different than what you experience in America when you're black. Like it's like curious and excited is very different than like, I don't know, like fearful and stuff like that. Like in America, it's like honestly the complete opposite, right? But again, we're about to get into the next part. I'm about to get into the next part because the flip side of that is like the adult social culture here felt like almost the complete opposite of American social culture. So like, it's not so much the language barrier, it's more so there's a very different communication style. So like, I think things like making friends or like casual communication with coworkers, like small talk and stuff like that, it was really surprising to me at first because a lot of other teachers just didn't really talk to me at my old school, not at this school. I would say outside of the Japanese teachers of English that I had to work with directly. And it's not so much that they didn't like me, because that's what I thought at first. I was like, I guess they just don't like me. But like, let me think. This is one teacher at my last school that worked there the first year I worked there. And I remember when I first got to the school, he would just stare at me, like not say nothing, just stare at me. And he wouldn't even like really, it was a pleasant expression on his face, but he would just stare at me, like just staring. And I'll be thinking like, what's wrong with him? Like for example, he'll be in the middle of the lesson, teaching the kids. Then he see me turn in the hallway, he go like this. Turns just directly facing me and just looking at me. And I'm like, okay, I don't really know. Like, and that was like, it's multiple teachers that did that too at that school. So I was like, I don't understand why they just keep staring at me. Like, I was thinking like, instead of like striking up a conversation, they would just like stare at you, right? So my brain, being a very American brain, I honestly didn't really know what to do with that information. So like, because where I'm from, unless a man is trying to fight you, we don't really do the eye contact thing like that. So my first assumption, I was like, okay, I guess they don't like me, but that's just kind of what they do here, right? So when I talked to my Japanese friends about it, because I was asking them about this issue, because I was like, they always just are staring at me, I don't know why, right? They explained to me it's the opposite of where if they don't like you, they would like very aggressively ignore you, like no type of eye contact or anything, like they just wouldn't look at you, right? They would ignore you. The staring thing is more like they want to talk to you, but they're nervous or shy. So it comes down, for me, I think a lot of times it comes down to them not being confident in their English, or just not confident in general, like to come up to a foreigner and talk to them, everything like that. So like, it was kind of a misread on my part culturally, because I was like, okay, I guess they just don't like me or something like going on with them, like whatever. I didn't understand that. Okay, I know my hair was looking crazy the first part of the video.
Who the fuck did your hair?
I'm sorry, I didn't know why the little piece was in the front like that. I didn't even realize that. And it looks better now.
No.
I don't know if it does actually. As far as actually making friends, I said when I first got to Japan, I honestly made a lot of friends very quickly. So like, so I got here, I made a bunch of Japanese friends. Like, I met a lot of Japanese people through Hello Talk, which is an app that you can use to meet like Japanese people that want to do like language exchange and stuff like that. I found some people through Instagram and Facebook as well. But I would say, if I'm being fully honest, when it comes to the Japanese friends I made, I don't really talk to a lot of them anymore. Like, but a lot of the foreign friends I made early on, I'm still friends with them to this day. So I think part of it is the language barrier, because I'm not as good at Japanese as I would like to be. But I also think it's just kind of a difference in, again, communication style and friendship style. I feel like as adults in Japan, people are not as persistent with like making plans and keeping friendships and maintaining friendships and stuff. So it's just a little bit different, a little bit more difficult. And I think it's also like, it's okay to have like a more of a distance, I feel like, with a friendship with Japanese people. Not always, but with a lot of people, right? Again, it might just be my specific kind of perspective as a Westerner. I've heard the same thing from a lot of my friends who are fluent in Japanese, or even like are dating somebody that's Japanese. Making close Japanese friends can kind of be a hurdle, right? It can be kind of difficult. This is the one that I really like. This is what I want a lot of my channel to kind of be based around, honestly, is identity in Japan, right? So I think this is probably the one that people actually clicked for because they want to hear about and everything. So what I would say is, before I moved to Japan, I honestly expected there to be a huge, like very obvious difference in how Japan treats black people versus white people, right? I thought that I would get there and people would be like very afraid and very like hesitant and stuff like that. There is a difference. I'm not going to sit here and say that there isn't a difference in the way that they treat people, but I think that the main thing that people need to understand before they come here is the way that Japan conceptualizes foreigners. The way that Japan conceptualizes foreigners isn't really white people versus black people versus whoever versus whatever, right? It's Japanese people and everyone else, right? The way that they think of it is Japanese people and foreigners. So it's not so much a black foreigner versus white foreigner and stuff. Like, there is differences in the way that they see that, but it's not so much of a difference. Like, it's mainly just Japanese and everyone else, right? That's the core division. I think that's really the core division. Now, obviously, within everybody else, people might have certain assumptions based on where you're from or what you look like, but the whole framework is centered around Japaneseness. So your proximity to being Japanese, it's not really centered around race, the same way that it is in the West, at least, right? I think the biggest kind of proof of that, the clearest proof of that, I think, is half Japanese people that are half Japanese. So people that get treated as foreigners in their own country, in the country they were born and raised in, just because they look different, right? So like, their ethnicity is not fully Japanese, even if they're white, even if they come from another country in Asia, like just because they're half Japanese, people don't see them as Japanese, right? A lot of people don't. So that tells you that the system is kind of working off a different logic than what I initially expected coming here. That's probably the biggest thing. And I will also say, like, just being black here specifically, I guess my experience being black here specifically is most people have like questions, people have assumptions about you as well, for sure. But I would say for the most part, it's pretty harmless, like just like harmless curiosity, right? I don't really experience racism in the same way that I did in the US. So I think most of the actual friction I've experienced here has just kind of been general foreigner stuff. So just like language barrier, cultural misunderstandings, people assuming I can't speak Japanese, so they get hesitant, just standard foreigner in Japan kind of stuff, right? Anything I would categorize as race-related and negative, I would say dating and then foreigners, right? Other foreigners. So like I would say most of what I would consider actual racism has come from other foreigners, right? Not necessarily from Japanese people. I would say what I get from Japanese people is more so like xenophobia. So kind of like a general wariness of foreigners in general, and not racism as much. It's more so just a wariness and like avoidance of foreigners, but not like you're black, so I don't want to sit with you or like stuff like that, right? I would say I had to code switch a lot here as well. So like, I think who I was in America and who I am in Japan are honestly very different people. So I was a lot friendlier, a lot louder. Here as a foreigner, I definitely dial it like way down. I don't talk as loud in public. I talk very quiet in public now. I keep to myself more. I'm not as talkative to people in public, right? Not as talkative at all, honestly. And it's really real. Like when I go back to the States now, I get kind of like reverse culture shock. So like everyone's just really loud and like talking to strangers, and I'm standing there like, okay, what are we doing? Like everybody's like, honestly, that's probably the one thing I don't like about the States. Like people just, well, I can't even say that because I do like that people talks to you, but I don't like that people are in your business in the States. I'll say that. I like that people talk to you. I don't like that they're in your business. Like people are all up in your business in America. Don't matter who it is. People are really all up in your business. So I think I used to kind of be like that when I first got to Japan, and people were like, ooh, like people get like hesitant and stuff. So I stopped doing that, obviously. It's not like a bad thing. It's just like a cultural difference, right? Like you don't have to be as friendly here. Like it's not expected. It's not common. I know some people that are, and it's fine, but like you don't have to do that, right? It's not an expectation in the same way that it would be in the States. Yeah. I'll say again, before I came here, I heard from other like black creators and other black expats living in Japan that they didn't really experience racism, more so like misconceptions and like just kind of general like xenophobia towards foreigners. And honestly, almost every YouTube video I watched before I moved here said the same thing, where like black people don't experience racism in the same way that they do in the States. Not that there's no type of like discrimination or anything, but they don't face the same kind of racism that we do as black people in the US. You know, you black in the US, you know what I'm talking about. So, and if I'm being honest, I do agree with that. So it's not racist in the same way that America is racist. And I'm not saying there's zero racism again. I think it's always gonna be like individual people who don't like black people or have their own misconceptions about black people. I just watched a video about a racist Japanese man the other day. So there are racist Japanese people, like just straight up saying like, I don't like black people, right? So I wouldn't say I've gone my entire time without hearing certain words, right? There are racist people here, but I think the difference is that it's not systemic in the same way that it is in the US. So like it's not built into like the institutions the way that it is back home. It's not as overt, it's less intentional. It's just like stupid bullshit, right? People just saying stupid shit. It's not as structurally working against you. It's just like dumb like bullshit, right? People are stupid everywhere, right? So it's a different category of problem, I would say, than it is in the US. Racism here, different category of problem. Not that it doesn't exist. It's just in a different category, right? I'll specifically say racism towards black people because I can't speak for other races. But I would say racism towards black people is a little bit different. It feels not quite as systemic, specifically towards black people. This is the last category, is the emotional and the big picture. So let me think. Let's start with the good stuff. So I would say the honeymoon phase living in Japan was lit. I love the honeymoon phase. When I first got to Japan, I was completely enamored with everything. Everything felt cool. Everyone was nice. The food was incredible. I would say that first 6 months to a year was such an incredible stretch of my life. Honestly, almost every weekend, I would live in Tochigi. I would go to Tokyo like twice a month, literally. I traveled around Kansai with my friend when she came to Japan. I watched my first class of students graduate junior high school. I was building new friendships, like learning a new language. Everything was like just great, right? I was very broke at the time. Like I was completely broke, doing the most anyway. I was completely broke, but I was doing my thing. I was having fun. But of course, so around that first summer, so about like a year in, I started feeling kind of down. I felt like a lot of it came from like the social dynamic at my school. Like people weren't super like friendly or talkative day to day. So I started feeling honestly pretty lonely. And that was just the first year. So like literally that first summer, like that's when I started feeling that. And then I started experiencing like ups and downs when it comes to dating, ups and downs with friendships I built here. I just kind of started feeling alone within it all. Also, kind of like adding on the language piece on top of it, like it's very difficult to live here if you don't speak, because my Japanese was way worse than it even is now. So back then I was very like, I really could not express myself in Japanese at all with most stuff, like at all. So it wasn't good enough to really do anything beyond like basic greetings. So it made it hard to actually connect with people who were not foreigners. And honestly, on the outside, it probably looked like I had it all. Like I was living in Japan, I was having a good time. Like it looked like if you just looked at it from Instagram or whatever, like that I was having a great time, but I wasn't. I was not having a good time. Honestly, I was really struggling to adjust during that stretch. I would say what got me through that period of time was, let me think, just kind of holding on to the goals that I had that I came here with. So like stuff I wanted to do in Japan, like acting, musicals, writing, performing, everything like that. And kind of like reminding myself that I wanted to accomplish these things. So it meant I had to push through the difficult parts. I'm like, I want to perform, I want to sing, I want to act, everything. And I did it, right? But I had to get through those difficult parts, right? So for me also, the first city that I lived in Japan, had a pretty decent like immigrant population. A lot of foreigners, a lot of other ALTs. So it made it a lot easier to kind of feel settled and feel like more of an actual home instead of just like a place that I was staying. Which obviously took time, and I still even now have ups and downs. For me, Japan genuinely feels like a second home rather than just feeling like somewhere that I'm living. And even though I do definitely plan on moving back to the US eventually, I think that Japan will always have a place in my heart. I will always love Japan. I'll always cherish the time that I have here still. As far as how I think about things differently now, I think that I definitely think about America very differently now than I did before I left. And just being honest, I think that it's better to just say it plainly that like America is definitely one of the harder places in the world to be Black. The racism there just really runs deep in a way that honestly is very different from a lot of other countries, even Japan. And then when I talk to Black people from other countries, like especially Black majority countries, I would say the relationship to their Blackness is it's different. Like it feels lighter in a way and less defined by struggles that they dealt with because of their race, you know what I mean? And I would say even Black people that were born and raised in Japan, a lot of them say that they generally prefer how they live here and how they're treated here compared to the States, right? A lot of the people born and raised in Japan, they say they prefer the way that they're treated here versus how they would be treated in the States. And I would agree with that. Like people here generally, I think they treat darker skinned people with more warmth than what I had experienced back home. It's less fear, like let's call the police, we see this Black person. It's more like, even if they are nervous, it's just like nervous, right? Like it's very different. I don't think that racism doesn't exist here or in other places. It definitely does. But it's not the same, like very systemic, almost kind of like designed in kind of racism, right? It's not, living abroad didn't really change my mind about home, but it just kind of confirmed things that I already believed to be true. So again, it's not that I don't love America. I still love America. I still love the people in there. I still am going back. But again, it just kind of, the experience of living in Japan just kind of made some things click that I already suspected, right? Damn, okay, that's it. I'm done. I didn't know. Okay, I got to my first YouTube video. So that's the full rundown. That was sensory, logistics, social, identity, work, and the emotions of it, right? So 3 years, 7 categories. Honestly, rereading all of the stuff, I would say going through all of that reminded me how much actually has changed within me and how much has changed in general since I got here. So if you did make it this far, thank you genuinely for watching my video. Let me know in the comments which category hit hardest for you, or if you had a similar experience. If you live in Japan or you move somewhere completely different from home, let me know. And if you want more of this is just the beginning of the channel, so stick around. I don't even know what my sign out is going to be, but okay, this is Chase signing out. Bye.